Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Backups Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Seb Burnett. I got my buddy Tex here.
I'm here still.
Present. And then we have a buddy of mine, Jordan Pipitone. He goes by the nickname JPip. I've asked him to stop, and he just won't do it. Welcome, Jordan.
Thank you, Mr.
I
Seb.
didn't know his name. Welcome.
I did. Well, I tried to say the word JPip, and I threw up in my mouth a little bit, so I couldn't quite do it.
After all these years, still the same. Same dude. Same delicious dude, though. Very
Damn right. We got a great show coming to you today. We're going to be talking about the NBA. You know, we've been focusing so much lately on the NFL draft. It's coming up in a week, and I'm just so absolutely excited. But today we're going to be bringing you the NBA playoffs because guess what? There's more exciting things than the draft going on right now, and the NBA playoffs are in full swing. It's going to be a great show, gentlemen. Let's do this shit.
Ready, set, hold on tight, folks. We're bringing in the Backups. It's the Backups Podcast with your hosts, Seb and Professor Tex. Let's do this thing.
Alrighty. Let's start it from the top, gentlemen. Gentlemen, it's a beautiful Wednesday evening. The Cavs and Indiana Pacers game 2 just finished. Did anybody get a chance to watch it besides me?
I watched. Go ahead.
No, you're the guest. I guess you can just butt in whenever you want.
Okay. All right. Damn right. Okay. I watched probably the last half of the fourth quarter, but it kind of went how I thought it would. Looks like the Cavs came out, played with a sense of urgency. LBJ absolutely went off. I think he had 45 points. That's kind of what I expected. Looks like the younger guys played a little bit better defensively. Looks like they showed up a little bit more. So about what I figured. Tied series.
And LeBron James broke a hip. So that's always fun.
No. But Kevin Love really did have something happen to his hand, and I don't know, man. That's pretty concerning when you think about this team going forward. I mean, he wasn't. How do I say this? He wasn't exactly the epitome of on tonight, but he was still solid. He gave you 8 rebounds, 15 points. 5 of 16 though, so not super efficient. But he's supposed to be there, and he's doing what he's supposed to do, playing that 5 spot because Tristan Thompson apparently uses all of his energy on multiple women, so he just can't play the big game of basketball anymore.
That wasn't him. You never saw anything like any action. She's just there taking pictures. Dude.
That is absolutely
Bros
what
over
happened.
hoes, right? I gotta hold it down for my boy.
Oh, good God.
Yeah. No, but I think you're absolutely right. I think if Kevin Love, if he's out for an extended period of time, and I don't know the extent of the injury, but that definitely hurts them going forward. He's obviously a spot-up shooter. Inconsistent, but he can get you 15 to 20 points a game. He's going to play solid defense, get you rebounds. So that's a big loss if that's an extended thing for them.
Oh, yeah, because I think he's a paramount part of that team as it is right now, considering everything else is kind of role pieces. You know what I mean? You got Korver that can shoot the threes. You got Nance that can be kind of your athletic guy down low a little bit, play good defense. And I don't know, man. Kevin Love is just good all around. And it's going to be rough going forward, especially in the next round when they probably face the Toronto Raptors, who, as of right now, who are up 2 games to none versus the Wizards. Jordan, have you kept up with that series?
I have, and it looks like it's. I had the Raptors winning that series in 5, and it kind of looks like it's going that way. I think the Raptors defensively, I think, are just a little bit too much for the Wizards, who've kind of struggled, limped into the playoffs, I think, somewhat. So I'm trying to pull up stats here, but I think the Raptors, they're got some momentum coming off that regular season, moving into this first round series.
Isn't this what the Wizards do every year, though? I mean, they really haven't. I mean, they settle into that 7-8 seed very nicely. They make a nice little appearance. John Wall, says hello to the playoffs, and then they basically get beat, right? I mean, he's in the East, and I'm pretty sure they've never gone past the second round, right? So,
nope, I can't remember in recent history.
No, I don't
They've
think
always
they've.
ran in. I think they've ran into the Cavs last year or the year before. So yeah,
That was last year. That was definitely last year that they did that. Yeah, man. And I don't love the Raptors in the playoffs. I really don't. But I love the Wizards even less, just considering how volatile it seems that their backcourt is. With John Wall and Bradley Beal just having these clashes together. And I mean, the game last night, Bradley Beal played like just garbage. He's minus 34 for the night. Just not great. Yeah, exactly. And I heard this today, and I thought it was pretty interesting, the idea of this trade. How would you guys react if the owner of the Spurs or the GM of the Spurs got a call today from the GM of the Wizards and he said, "I'll give you our backcourt for Kawhi Leonard"?
Then Popovich says, "Over my wife's dead body."
Wow. Way too soon.
That's the worst thing you've ever said.
That's
on record, boys. That is how you go balls deep on a podcast.
Jordan, JPip, would you take that trade?
I absolutely would. Sebulous. I think you get a guy like Kawhi, if he's healthy, he's a two-way player, offensively, defensively. There's maybe one guy better in the league on both ends of the floor, and that's obviously LeBron. So I think he could make up for, especially John Wall's lack of defense. He's going to give you obviously quality minutes. I would accept that deal personally.
Tex?
I think you and I have spoken about this off record or whatever, but Kawhi is one of those players that's quickly becoming pretty polarizing in terms of perception and is he a player that you actually want on your team? And the Spurs are out there and they're making the right moves today. They said essentially that they're not going to trade Kawhi. They have absolutely no plans to. But it would make no sense for them to say that they would want to, because they'd lose any type of leverage. And I think the league is quickly seeing that Kawhi is completely disinterested in the Spurs right now. But in terms of that trade, I'd probably make it just so I could distance myself from any type of headache that Kawhi is going to bring. But
well, you have to consider who's more of a headache though, John Wall or Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, but John Wall, he's a role player. He's definitely not as good as Kawhi is. But Kawhi is not on the court. He's not helping you. He's a devaluing asset every time that he's not, or diminishing asset. So, at least Wall's on the court. He's not making the franchise look bad.
Most of the time. He's not always on the court. He does get injured.
He does get injured, but
not full season.
Not the freaking thigh.
Yeah.
A year and a half for a thigh? Are we serious here?
Well,
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Jordan. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, on one hand, I get why he would do this, considering if he comes back and he agitates it more, he could become IT again. With how the Celtics handled IT last year, coming back from an injury kind of early, not really himself, but putting it forward for the team, and then just trading him. Yeah, thanks, bud. Yeah, get out. We don't want to pay you. Be gone. I think it's kind of, but then at the same time, it's you see stories like today, DeMar DeRozan's ailing father sent a video message to the team from his hospital bed, letting them know he's pulling for them. And Kawhi Leonard can't send a message,
Well, he was training and trying to, rehab. So
all day.
Yeah.
In New York, because they don't have the same kind of medical machinery in Houston or San Francisco. Or no, San Francisco or San Antonio. Right? yeah, I don't know. It's ridiculous. But yeah, so I expect the Raptors to win this. If Kevin Love goes out the next round, they'd be playing the Cavs if the Cavs win, of course. And I don't know, man. Like LeBron seems to just always have their number every year.
He does. And going into the playoffs, I although they're not the number one seed, I still think the Cavs with LeBron, it's hard to go against them. So I kind of always have still viewed them as the favorite in the East. So if Kevin Love is healthy and is not out for an extended period of time, even if he doesn't play in the Raptors series, you're right. I think the Cavs have the Raptors number. So I would still expect the Cavs to probably win that series. I think the number one threat to the Cavs in the East, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, is Philly. So,
oh yeah,
that's kind of
well, that leads us into the Philadelphia and Miami series. So there's no guarantee at all as of what we're seeing right now that Philly's going to pull that out.
No, it's not,
because Miami split the series in Philly, and now they're headed to Miami.
Yep,
where every Philadelphia 76ers hotel room is going to be bombarded and surrounded by cocaine carrying hookers, Cuban hookers, my friend.
And Kevin Hart.
And Kevin Hart. He'll be there.
He will be.
That's not motivation to end the season early. I don't know what is, right? You start looking around, you've done a few bumps, you're like, fuck, dude, we could be here. We could just stay through the next 2 weeks. You know, fuck going to Disney World. I'm going to go do some coke out of this Cuban girl's ass, you know?
Just a little poop toot.
Yeah, like, hey, fart in my face.
Yeah, I mean, the series has been really interesting because, going into it, a lot of people, talking head analysts and myself included, I was like, man, Miami is a rough matchup, I feel like, for anybody in the East right now. Just with, Spoelstra is actually a pretty good coach. Dwayne Wade is in shape as he should have been throughout the entire season. He played like a man on fire in Game 2, which they won. I don't know, but then you have Ben Simmons, who looks transcendent. Jordan, like, what are your thoughts on Ben Simmons so far?
Well, it's like, I think you and me were texting this morning. I think he can be the next LeBron type of player moving forward in the future. I think he's got the size. I think you're going to see him grow as a defensive player. I think he's good on the defensive end, but I think you're only going to see him get better. He's obviously a great scorer. He's got eyeballs in the back of his flipping head. Like you said, he's a transcendent player, man. I think he's going to be something else for a long time.
Tex, what about you, bud?
I'd like to hear a little bit more about him working on his shot. But you can't deny the fact that the skills are there, and you see all the highlights of him being an amazing, essentially just playmaker, and that's huge for somebody who can make the players around him better,
right?
And but in terms of, or in talking about the Heat, I think the Heat are dangerous because there's relatively no expectations on them, right? It's not like they're a team with basically nobodies, but the players that they have, Wade is getting up there, Whiteside, signed a pretty big contract and just hasn't elevated himself to I think play at that superstar level. And so when you look at a team like the Heat, you can easily overlook them, especially if you're young, like the 76ers are, with relatively no playoff experience. Well, I say relatively, like zero, right? So, I think it would be easy to, face value, you look at them and say, oh, 76ers should beat this team. But when, in reality, it's kind of scary to go up against somebody that has nothing to lose.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's so much expectation after the past 3, 4 seasons with the 76ers of, horrible, mediocre
the process.
Yeah, the process. And now it's, all these expectations are, hey, they're healthy, they're winning, blah, blah, blah. They're going in there. Oh, we got the Heat game 1, series, first round, let's already overlook them. But then you have Dwayne Wade over here, and, he's a veteran and he knows quote unquote the process, right? Like he knows what it takes to get to the next round. So it could be a sneaky matchup where they could actually take this. So
yeah, and what's super interesting to me about it though is that if the Heat take it, get this, they face the winner of the Boston Milwaukee series. And what's so crazy is that Boston, it looks like they're going to win that series, of course, just because Milwaukee, like, who's their coach? I think it's just 4 assistant coaches, right? And they just stand around and I'll do this. No, bully, let's do this. That kind of bullshit. And it's not helping. But the Celtics, they're good enough, obviously, where they are, even with the injuries, to win this series against a struggling Milwaukee team because they don't have an identity. That's the biggest issue with them. And the Celtics going into the next round, Miami could very easily beat them as well.
Yeah. I think that's a matchup that if Miami can get past Philadelphia, you're right. I think because of the injuries to the Celtics, obviously not having Hayward the whole year, Kyrie being out for the playoffs, that's a vulnerable place for the Celtics to be in, and Miami could take advantage of that if they can get past Philly.
And then you possibly have Cleveland versus Miami in the semifinal.
Dope. LeBron versus Wade.
Yeah, and
also known as LeBron going to a 7th straight NBA Finals.
That would probably be likely.
LeBron leaves Cleveland to go to Miami yet again after the season. Yeah. Oh, Jordan, Tex and I have a running bet, and one of our podcasts. Everybody can go back and listen to it. I think it was a couple weeks before the Super Bowl happened. Our bet was that if the Eagles won the Super Bowl, LeBron James, as a free agent, would go to the Philadelphia 76ers.
And I forget the main reason. I think it was because of just the electricity in the city and being able to play with the young stars and it working on paper. But we were joking around on the podcast and it just made sense. And, I think we went with it. And so, here it is months later, and it's actually a real possibility. But I think it'd be interesting, man. I'd love to see it.
JPip, what are your thoughts on Markelle Fultz?
I think he's going to be a good player.
Yeah.
Offensively, I think defensively he's not that great. But I like him. I liked him coming out of college. I think he's going to be a good young player. I think Simmons is going to be the focal point of that team moving forward.
Sure, but I think Simmons and his complete control of the court, especially for not a rookie, is something really to be looked at, and his ability that he'll be able to get Markelle Fultz involved. Like once it gets to the offseason and they start practicing and we see Markelle Fultz and Ben Simmons on the court at the same time and what kind of chemistry that can create. That's what I'm interested in seeing.
Yeah.
And we all know Tex hates Markelle Fultz.
Yeah, it's not that I hate him. I think his mom should have swallowed him, So in terms of he's here, we got to kind of deal with him. I just don't understand how you can come to the NBA and change your shot. I think he gets traded once LeBron gets there, and they bring in a veteran presence to pair up with LeBron because LeBron ain't got time for that bullshit. LeBron, would probably look at Markelle and be like, "The fuck you doing, dude? Learn how to shoot the fucking ball. Don't look like my son whenever he was 11 years old,
that's interesting, though, because LeBron, when he came into the league, he's never been a great jump shooter. Like, he had to work his ass off to get where he is today. So I think he could be paramount in helping Markelle Fultz develop his own jump shot, as well as Ben Simmons.
LeBron ain't got time for that, dude. He's not freaking... He ain't 25. LeBron came into the league. He signed the fucking Nike contract when he was 17, dude. LeBron is not going to be spending his time working on 2 different fucking players. especially one named Markelle Fultz. When you got Ben Simmons over here doing fucking Oracle shit, like going up and like closing his eyes, doing a backflip and passing you the ball, you better be ready to get the ball because Lord knows he is not posting up and shooting it. So, yeah, LeBron, fucking Fultz, no, they're boosting his numbers right now so that it looks attractive. So when LeBron comes in, LeBron's gonna be like, "You go over there. I want this player and this player," and they're just gonna do. I mean, it's gonna be ridiculous, and I'm telling you, I'm gonna be right, 100%.
What if they get Kawhi too?
That's not gonna happen.
No, but
Markelle Fultz what do you think and a first-round pick for Kawhi.
I mean, if that was literally on the table, then I mean, if I was Philly, I would absolutely consider that. I just don't think that's probably going to happen.
What about Klay Thompson
for Kawhi? I mean, I don't know. I feel like Kawhi.
The Warriors don't have money for that.
Kawhi's just on a different level.
I was saying Markelle Fultz in a first-round pick for Klay Thompson to leave you anyway.
That's
interesting.
That's sick.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that's actually
that was right out of my motherfucking mouth.
Was it? I didn't know. Okay, so let's look at this. So if the East matchups happen like we were just talking about, so it would be Cleveland and Toronto. Jordan and I definitely think that Cleveland's just got their number, and it would happen that way. Tex, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd pretty much agree with that.
Okay, and so then it would be okay. Right now, gun to your head, who wins the series between the 76ers and the Heat?
Well, like I said from the beginning of the playoffs, I'm still not quite ready to go against LeBron and the Cavs. So I would say Cavs win in a really, really hard fought 7-game series.
No, I'm talking about between Philly and Miami. Who wins that?
Oh, I think it's Philly and Cleveland.
Maybe I did. I'm drunk.
Yeah, you probably are. It's typical.
Rude.
Dick. Philly.
All right. Tex?
Yeah, I'm right there. I'm not going to root against that process.
Trust the process.
Actually, I'm going to go ahead and call the upset. I feel like Dwayne Wade's just about to go out on his sword, man. I feel like he's just going to give it all in this, and then somehow, some way, we're going to get the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Miami Heat, LeBron versus Dwayne Wade, even though they were teammates at one point this season, for the Eastern Conference Finals.
I would absolutely love that.
That would be so good for media. So good for media. All right. Let's shift over to the West. I'm going to start at the top here. Let's talk about the Houston Rockets and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Jordan, what are your thoughts on that matchup so far that we've seen?
I think just about what everybody's expected. It looks like the Rockets are just more of the same from the regular season. I don't think Minnesota's quite there, obviously. And I think you'll see this series. It may go 5 games. But I don't think there'll be much resistance from here on out.
Tex?
And I think, the Timberwolves were, to start the season, you and I were talking about them. And I mean, I was pretty excited about that team on paper. And I mean, do you think it's a little bit of the coaching as well? Because, I mean, hasn't Thibodeau pretty much underproduced in terms of just elevating the talent that he has on his rosters?
Like that's my whole thing. Is like, what has he done in the playoffs? You know what I mean?
Nothing.
Yeah,
and if you watch that game 1 that they did, like his plays at the end were atrocious. Like the play you came up with at the end there, with only a couple of seconds left, is just like a throw in to Jimmy Butler from way beyond the line. Like, come on, man. That's what you drew up?
Yeah. Give it to Jimmy. Oh, okay. Well, what are we doing after that? I don't know. Just give him the ball.
Jimmy. Come on, Jimmy. And they were just praying that he made the shot. I'm like, look, that's good. Like, that's, I don't know, man. The first game made me question some things. You look at the talent that they have on that team with Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins and Jimmy Butler and Jeff Teague, and they just look soft, man. Like Karl Anthony Towns only took 9 shots in the first game. How does Karl Anthony Towns take 9 shots?
And they only lost by 3. I made it sound like they got blown the hell out, but that was a 3-point game at Houston.
Yeah.
And you're right. Him only taking 9 shots, that's unacceptable.
Atrocious. And you have to think, is that him or is that just everyone else playing not within a system? Because the system right now should be give it to Karl Anthony Towns, because who's going to match up with Karl Anthony Towns on the Rockets? Like, they have good pieces. Clint Capella had a great first game. Chris Paul did not. He almost actually lost the game there at the end, which is a not so good. That's kind of recalling back to the days when he was with the Clippers. A little bit, and that's not what you want to see from your guy, But James Harden's going to James Harden, and I feel like the Rockets aren't beatable if you can let James Harden do his thing. That's fine. Score 35 points, cool, 40 points, whatever.
Yep.
You stop the rest of it, and that's it.
Yep.
And I don't trust Mike D'Antoni as a coach. You want to talk about another coach that's underproduced throughout his entire career? The D'Antoni, for sure. And whoever ends up winning this Oklahoma City and Utah matchup is going to be I'm going to go ahead and say the Rockets win that. Obviously, I think that's just a given. But whoever wins the OKC Utah series, which OKC is up 1 game right now, but as we speak right now, the Jazz are up by 5 with 8 minutes left.
That's good for the it's a way to come out for the Jazz in game 2. But I think that series, you're going to see similar to game 1. I think that Thunder team is obviously built for the playoffs. PG-13 doing what he did in game 1. I expect to see that more going forward in this series. So, they may split this home stand in OKC, but I would hope that Thunder roster finds a way to get it done in maybe 6 games. The Jazz, they played solid defense, but I expect the Thunder to prevail.
I don't know whether to feel bad for Carmelo Anthony or just hate him, because he had an opportunity during the time when wasn't it the summer when LeBron James was making his decision, right? And he decided essentially to go to New York. Wasn't that around that time, or was it with the Celtics when they were joining up? But he essentially has made wrong move after wrong move his entire career, whether it was staying in re-signing with the Nuggets, going to the Knicks. It just looks pathetic right now. I'm so tired of watching Carmelo Anthony just underproduce, and it's like the big 2.5, in my opinion. But even if the Thunder do pull it out, they're not going to do much. And I think, I think Carmelo knows that. Russell, you can't tell him anything. I mean, he's a killer.
Russell's going to Russell. That's pretty much it.
Exactly.
He's going to do him.
Same way. But Melo's been around the block. He's he's not the guy that you put on your team because he's won. He's the guy you put on your team because he's a veteran, but he's also lost everywhere he's went. So it's he's really not the person you want on your team anymore. I mean, he's a fraction of who he was. I just don't. Oh.
No, pathetic. I'm hoping the Jazz make more noise than people are giving them the credit for, because I love Donovan Mitchell, I love Rudy Gobert, I love Jay Crowder on that team. I like the fact that he's actually kind of found his place again, within a system that works for him. I think that's really great. I don't know, but as you guys said, against the Thunder, Russell Westbrook and PG-13 in the playoffs is just. It's so much, and Steven Adams down low is a big man. It's an interesting idea, and matchup wise, I think it's pretty good for Houston. What do you guys think about that matchup, Houston versus Thunder?
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. Harden going against Westbrook. I mean, it'll be fireworks for sure, but I think Houston will end up taking it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that can be a really entertaining series. Obviously, I think Houston. Obviously, I think they're obviously better than the Thunder, but I think Thunder, they get past this first round series. You got Paul George, Russell Westbrook. It looks like they're kind of coming into a zone. The Thunder, or the Rockets, they'll have to play a solid series to get out of that one. That one could be 6 games.
Oh
Easy.
yeah, and it could wear them the hell out. And then they would be facing the winner of the next 2 games we're going to talk about. Let's go ahead and jump into my favorite surprise of the playoffs so far, the Trailblazers versus the Pelicans. So the biggest question everyone has to ask right now is, are the Trailblazers the Raptors of the West?
That's a pretty good question.
I mean, you look at it, their identity is based on their backcourt. And they're losing.
It's a really good comparison.
Sorry, go ahead.
Did you see the conference, or not the conference, like who was it, Bledsoe? Who was talking yesterday
after the Celtics game? Yeah, where Terry Rozier beat his ass the entire night, and then Eric Bledsoe was like, "Who's that?" I'm like, "Relax, dude. He just beat your ass all night. Show him a little respect." You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know, but I feel like that's what, Eric's been his entire career. He's been passed around the league, even though he's a very talented player for sure. But yeah, that's whatever. With the Pelicans Portland game, man, Jordan, what did you think about Drew Holiday? Like, the dude just went ridiculous. He went ham.
Bananas. Well, I think he's an X factor for that team. Everybody talks about Anthony Davis, but if you get that kind of point guard play from Holiday, and Rondo could shoot at plus 17. They're going to be a tough match. It's for like an upset team in the West. The Pelicans have the potential to be that team for the Rockets should they face. I guess it would be the next round, right? So,
are you buying into the storyline that they're trying to make up right now about how the Pelicans are winning without Boogie? What do you make of that? You think there's something there?
I think they would be a whole lot better with Boogie personally. Can you imagine if they had Boogie right now?
They struggled at the beginning of the season a little bit just to kind of find their identity, but then they really started to turn it on.
They did right before he got hurt. So I don't know. I think that's kind of a silly debate. I think they would be really dangerous if they had Boogie and Anthony Davis
and Drew Holiday and Rondo are playing like they are. Yeah, for sure.
Rondo is so
underrated.
He's so
in the
underrated.
Playoffs, essentially.
On that, that's a world champion, and he.
Yeah, but I think he brought that onto himself.
Yeah,
might have lost confidence in his game and kind of was brushed aside, and I think he's rejuvenated and kind of refocused himself with the Pelicans. He has a team that that likes him, that believes in him. And I mean, you can see it's not like he just completely fell off the face of the earth. I just think he was going through he had some demons to face, and maybe being down there with the Pelicans has kind of re-energized him.
Yeah, got some of that good old New Orleans voodoo on him. So he's playing real good right now. I kind of expected this from the Pelicans a little bit in terms of, like, I've been saying it, and Tex can attest to this. I said, once the Pelicans get some shooters, which they did in Nikola Mirotic, and he shaved his beard, I said they're a much different team than we're thinking about.
Yeah. Correction, you never said that.
I hate you. I really just despise. All right.
You might have implied it, but you never said that.
I despise you. But yeah, I think Drew Holiday, man, he's a nightmare matchup for a lot of these point guards that are in the West right now. I feel like he'd be able to, if he can lock down Dame, I feel like he can lock down like the others. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the Currys, the Westbrooks, the people that. Yeah.
I was gonna
like all those great.
I was gonna say James Harden, but apparently James Harden can just walk. He could take 3 steps in any direction, just holding the ball, and it's okay.
Oh, he's always.
That's
Yeah,
not
totally
a travel.
fair. Totally legal.
No.
But, in the NBA, travel's like a,
Well,
they don't
okay,
call
but
that.
I feel like there's a difference between just like your regular kind of travel and then James Harden's 3-step shot. You know what I mean?
That's what I thought about the that play a few weeks back where he makes that big man trip over himself, and then he takes 2 step backs and drains the 3. Everybody was like, "Oh, what a great play!" I had a little bit of a different perspective on it. First of all, that's a big man. You're supposed to do that to him, all right? And he did take 4 steps. I mean, awesome, cool.
You're doing great, Harden. Yeah, but that's the treatment you get when you're like the MVP superstar for the year. You know what I mean?
You're right. Don't get me wrong, fantastic player, but I've
never been a huge Harden fan anyway. I think he's a little bitch. But
But getting back to the Pelicans, if I can for a second, here's what's interesting about the Pelicans, and I haven't watched too many games from the Pelicans this year, but it looks like to me, just from afar, the system that they run is it's not like your typical modern NBA thing that they have going now, where it's fast break, transition, shoot 53s a game. They play really, really well in the half court, offensively and defensively. So you think about if they play the Rockets, that's if they can control the pace of the game and not let the Rockets get out in transition and keep them in the half court. I think that can really pay dividends against the Rockets. They play,
dude, for sure. And that's it. And you know what? They have Drew Holiday that can lock down point guards. I'd completely forgotten. They have the shell of Tony Allen, who I can almost guarantee you, Allen could probably give you a solid 7 minutes of lockdown D on a point guard. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my whole thought. It's like he's old, but he knows how to play the game. And I think it's just a really interesting idea for this team, especially as you were just talking about with the half court. That's the benefit, I feel like, of having a man like Anthony Davis.
Exactly.
You get it to him down low in the post. And who's going to stop him on the Rockets or the Warriors? Draymond?
That's the thing. They have a size advantage.
Draymond? No. Draymond comes up to probably like his nipples.
He'll kick him in the balls.
Draymond? I come to the game with a Mach 3 Gillette razor. And I don't hold back at all. When the tip off goes, I shave his unibrow. Game over. Okay, cool. Kick me out. You lost. It's over. No endorsements. I'm sure he would crumble to the floor. You sell the razor for charity. Boom. Image restored. Done.
Wow.
That's great.
But then I feel like you get the reverse. You just get a very angry Anthony Davis then at that point.
He probably. But a browless.
But if he's like he's the opposite of Samson, you know?
I didn't even think about it. This was a bad idea because then the brow's going to come back even more defined.
That's even worse.
That's right.
Oh.
Thicker.
All right. So
don't do.
Speaking of thicker, I don't know how that transitions into this game at all, but the Golden State Warriors against the San Antonio Spurs, like one of the most, like it's just sad, kind of, right, to watch.
It is. It's so weird too, seeing the Spurs in such disarray. In 2 decades of greatness as an organization, it's really weird.
I'm going to refrain from any derogatory jokes. I'll wait at least 12 hours before I make any more. Yeah. I think Popovich is probably going to, I don't know. I think this team might be a little bit too much, might take too much energy for him to get it back to where it needs to be. He's done a great job over the, what is it, like 20 years that he's been there. But I think there's just too much. It's too much to handle. He's a little bit, too old, and there's just nothing left, man. Tony Parker, good grief.
Yeah.
Kawhi's not playing. Duncan retired, 2 years ago?
Yeah. Or more than 2 years ago, I think. Something like that. 2-3 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, 2-3 years ago. So, they really do have to overhaul the whole cast, and the pieces that were there that were very appealing and that worked excellent together. They're about to to go and sign up for AARP, you know? So
the Bluebird special every week.
like your best player right now is who is it? The old guy that's fucking he's bald. He's like 42. What's his name?
Ginobili.
Ginobili.
Manu. Yeah.
Like dude, you need to be going and hanging out with like Ray Allen and getting a like a Hall of Fame jacket or something. Like why are you still playing? Golly.
All right. I know.
I don't
I'm right there with you. It's just it's hard to watch really because it's kind of the end of an era, you know.
Yeah.
And you know we've all watched Manu and Tony Parker and them, you know, stick with it and be part of the family and stuff. And I don't know. It's time to move on, I guess. And the Golden State Warriors doing this without Steph Curry. He's going to probably be back next. Well, for sure, he's going to be back against the Pelicans. Gun to your head, who are you guys choosing for that series?
Golden State and New Orleans.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? Well, I'm going to take Golden State. I still think, I think it's a really competitive series in the way that I think the Pelicans could compete with Houston if they are able to keep Golden State in the half court and allow them getting out in transition and get those shooters out on the wing and drain threes. That could be a competitive series, I think, for sure. But I still think, even despite Golden State not being the number one seed, for me, they're still the team to beat in the West if they're fully healthy and motivated. So I would definitely still take Golden State in 6 games. I think they could take them to 6.
I think Golden State right now is literally just stretching out their legs. I mean, they're just now getting into the mindset of, okay, we're in the playoffs. And in terms of experience, Rondo's he's a Super Bowl champ, right? Like everybody knows that. But this isn't the World Series. This is competitive NCAA basketball. So
mixing metaphors. I love it. No, all right. So you guys say Golden
State's going to win that if you'd let me finish, Seb, but you never do. Okay, I'm done.
I'll let you.
Go ahead.
I would apologize, but I'm just not very sorry. So we're talking Golden State, okay, coming out of the lower bracket. Upper bracket, who you guys got coming out between if you guys are saying OKC over Utah, it would be OKC versus Rockets.
I'll give you 3 points. 1, James Harden has got to perform better and show up his performance from last year. And I think he really avenges that. The team's on fire and he has help. He doesn't have to be everything on the court. And I think the pressure might have been a little bit too much for him. B, his beard. There's something different about it this year. I just think there might be magical powers in it. And 4, Chris Paul and James Harden are like, they've got to be probably the best big 3 in the NBA right now.
Okay. Jordan, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough series, I think, for the Rockets. And but I think, this is the series for the Rockets, right? Like getting past the second round, I don't think they've done that in recent history, right? I know Chris Paul obviously hasn't, so that'll be a big hump for him. And James Harden, yeah, I agree with Tex. He's got to show up and avenge his abysmal performance last year. And you look at this team, how they fared through the regular season. Obviously, number 1 seed, number 1 team in the league. Fantastic season. James Harden's going to win the MVP. But can they show up in the later rounds of the playoffs? And, I think this team is obviously built for that now. I think with the addition of Chris Paul joining James Harden, I think that puts them over the top in this series. And I would give the Rockets.
Okay, so, and then you move on. You're in the West Conference semifinals. Golden State versus Houston. Pick one.
Yep.
Right now. Tex.
Golden State.
Golden State.
Nice. Nice.
Seb,
A healthy Golden State.
I don't even think healthy. I think they have enough. If they're to that Western Conference, was it Western Conference Finals? Is that what they call it? Yeah. So if they get there, they're going to be clicking on all cylinders. Their mindset's going to be in the right place. Durant is going to turn it into, turn or elevate his game. And I think until the Rockets can kill those demons from past years and prove that they've matured and they can elevate their own game, how can you bet against Golden State, right? Like that entire team is a complete, well-oiled machine, veteran. They know what it takes to win.
Yeah.
I mean, you said it yourself. Chris Paul's never been out of the first round. I mean, that's pretty bad. So
I feel like I think they've been out of the first round when he was with the. Yeah. Okay. There you go.
He's never been out of the second round.
So in that case, it's Cleveland versus Warriors again.
Which is shocking. Nobody would have guessed that preseason.
Of course not.
Right?
But a much more competitive route to get there.
Yes.
I think. Last year it was just like, let's just fast forward, get
versus
the Cavs
2
Warriors.
seed, which is
episode 3.
Seeds don't matter anymore. So, all right, pick it. Say it.
Well, you know who
And
I'm
how
taking.
many
So
games?
I'm taking the Warriors.
3.
A lot of this is predicated on to me, a lot of it's predicated on how healthy Steph is throughout this whole playoff process. But let's assume you have a nearly 100% Steph. I think he's so obviously incredibly important to that team. I think it's 5 games, just like last year.
I think even if I think I'm just kidding with you guys.
I hate you.
Definitely the Warriors. LeBron's got enough to if he's there, right? Like you don't ever want to see LeBron in the finals unless he's Spurs.
Yeah.
But I think the Warriors would end up taking it in 6. LeBron's got enough to pull out at least 2 games. But if I'll tell you what, if the Warriors are up 3-1, there's absolutely no way in hell the Cavaliers would ever have a chance to come back and beat them.
Again.
So
No.
what do you mean? I'm just telling you, it's never happened ever.
I called the Jordan. I don't know if I ever told you that, but I have the text message still that I told Tex that LeBron was going to come back and win that, but I called it out of it.
Yeah,
Did you really?
for like 3 games in a row, and I was like, no way.
Dude, that's
that was a
LeBron
fantastic
like
series.
being the best. You know what I mean? Oh yeah.
LeBron
Well,
and
no.
Kyrie.
I
Let's not
actually
forget Kyrie
always
hit the
give
shot.
that, and Tex hates this story because he disagrees vehemently. But I give that championship to Kevin Love actually because I think what was it, Game 6 or Game 7? They Steph was coming up the court, a couple seconds left, final possession. Or no, almost a final possession. He was coming up on the right side. He was in that spot that he loves to be right there to make that shot. That would have got them rolling.
Yeah.
And Kevin Love played lockdown defense. You know what I'm talking about?
That was Game 7.
If you are willing to call out the referees in the NFL, how in the hell are you not able to call out the referees in Game 4 when Draymond gets, that technical and yes and missed a game? That was garbage.
No,
that was complete.
That's called LeBron James baiting the
garbage.
shit out of him. That's what that was.
He didn't do anything. That was one of the worst calls ever. And it literally, that championship should not go to Love or LeBron or anything. It should go to the referees. That was garbage. You want to talk about like collusion and, in the NFL? I don't see how you can't kind of point to that and say, hey, the series was over and then that happened. And I think it was Game 3. So he sat out for Game 4 or maybe it was 4 and he sat out for Game 5. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but they had 3 chances.
They did. They had 3 chances to close them out. They had a chance game 6, they had game 5 on their home floor, and they couldn't. They couldn't
was
close
LeBron.
it out. So,
Yep.
and they had game 7 on
LeBron
home.
and Kyrie time. Actually, boys, just to let you know, the Jazz did just tie this series up. Yep, they're up by 5 with like 20 seconds left.
Over? Are you? Wow, I was watching it.
Yep, that's what I like to see, baby. All right. Wow, this episode went on for a long time. I loved it though. Wow. Jordan, man, thank you so much for coming on, buddy. It was a blast.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me on.
We are the Backups. You can find Jordan. Do you want to plug anything? You want to plug your Twitch channel or anything, bud?
Yeah, you can find me at twitch.tv/JPip for some next level gaming entertainment. I usually have 1 or 2 viewers every day, which is usually myself and my dog. So if you want to drop by and
I'll slide in there occasionally and just tell him some demonic nasty shit in the chat just to rile him up a little bit. It's a good time. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. Make sure to like and review and subscribe us. You can listen to our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and generally any major podcast carrier. Tex, you have anything to say to the good people before we leave?
Subscribe. Did y'all hear that echo?
Oh, so weird. Yeah, 100%.
By the way, I'm not a professional.
You've been listening to the Backups Podcast. Follow us on Instagram, find us on iTunes, and visit the website at www.thebackups.com with a Z for more.